Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks. This is the show where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Frank. Tim's not here this week, but I'm really thrilled to be joined by a good friend of mine, podcaster extraordinaire, and a big fan of something that we're going to be talking about today. Welcome to the show.
Did you get somebody else?
Yeah, I did. I got you, actually, Mr. Derek Russell.
Oh, wow! I did not deserve that kind of. That's like a eulogy introduction. Like, I did not deserve that at all. Thank you. Hi, I'm Derek.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks. How's it going?
It's good. I didn't mean to like steamroll you in the opening moments, but you were saying all these nice things, and I was like, "Oh, he must have a third person here he did not tell me about."
Yep, that's it. It was a surprise.
Very kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah. Listen. First of all, you're the host of several podcasts.
That's what they tell me.
That's what they tell you. You just show up and they take the black bag off your head, and you just start recording.
That's what the voices tell me.
That's what the voices tell you. That's right.
I'm happy to unveil this. Can I unveil a very special project I'm working on?
Please do. Yes, I would. Yes. Nothing would make me happier.
This has been 32 years in the making. I'm actually going to be doing a podcast with the voices in my head, so it should make for a very interesting.
Is it called with the with the voices in my head?
We're TBD okay. On that one. I don't have a title yet, but yeah, we're all six hoping for really big things. So.
Well, I'm excited for you, and I can't wait. I can't wait to. Yeah. You'll have to come back and promote that when it happens.
Anyway, I steamrolled you twice. Continue.
Well, you're the host of With Brian Austin Green, which you host with Brian Austin Green.
That's where the name came from. I don't know if you people know this, but that's where we got it.
Peeling back the curtain already. Wow, that's aggressive.
Yeah. All for you, Frank. I don't go behind the scenes for anybody but Frank Rambling.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
You're also one of the hosts of Round 3, which is always a blast, real fun comedy podcast where you guys just talk about sort of you have three topics and you pull the lever on the slot machine and talk them out. But for 14 years now, you've been the host of Starkville's House of L.
They won't let me out. I keep trying to leave, and they just keep shutting the door.
Pull you back in.
So, yeah. By they, I mean the voices in my head.
Of course. Naturally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The voices.
Yes. 14 years. Mm-hmm. My God, it can almost drive.
Almost. It's just about it can in Kansas, I think it can drive a tractor.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely. It's got a hardship license.
That's right. But and the reason for Starkville House of L started as Smallville, like the number one Smallville podcast, and you are one of the biggest Superman fans that I know.
Thank you.
And I do mean that as a compliment. That is a compliment. I
didn't know.
Yes, absolutely.
I didn't know if it had a negative connotation there. You are one of the biggest Smallville.
One of the biggest Smallville fans and one of the big Superman fans that I've ever met. And
thank you.
This week marks 80 years of The Man of Steel.
I feel so aged.
I know. I feel like I was there. So I thought it'd be fun to talk, about Superman. I mean, Tim is Tim likes Superman. He's a big Superman fan, but he's more of a Batman guy. He'll be the first to say that. I have always been more of a Superman guy my whole life. And I know that's been the case for you too. So
I thought you were a huge Guy Gardner fan. I thought you were like the biggest.
I mean, I'm a huge guy. Period. But also a big, sure, why not?
Well, and a big Gardner enthusiast.
A big green thumb.
Yeah.
For sure.
Stuck on many levels. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, 80
exactly.
years. And
80
I would be
years.
remiss if I didn't say, yes, it's Superman's 80th, but it's also Lois Lane's 80th, who is also equally as important as Superman in some ways, if not more so, because Lois is what Superman loves about humanity and is what makes him so human to us. So, yeah, we'll have to, of course, mention, all the other stuff, Lex Luthor, the Daily Planet, Perry White, that all came years later, a couple years later. So definitely want to give her the props she deserves as well.
For sure, Lois deserves a shout out. No doubt
Yes.
about it. Absolutely, I'm with you on that. Yeah, for sure. Do you remember? Like, for me, I don't remember when I fell in love with Superman. Do you? Were you old enough to remember it? Because I was too young.
I actually I was struggling. I'm a reporter, and I was writing my weekly column yesterday, and I was struggling with what to do. And occasionally when I'm struggling, when I have writer's block like that, I'll look around my desk for things that will inspire some kind of thing. And a lot, you can imagine, a lot of what's on my desk in the newsroom is Superman and Lois Lane related things, specifically the House of El symbol. And I was like, well, I got nothing else to do, and it's the anniversary. This makes the most sense.
For sure.
So I start, writing phrases and stuff I want to, and then I build a story around it. And my first thing that I wrote is Superman is my oldest memory. And it's true. I don't have a memory that's not an older memory that's not somehow related to the Man of Steel, and I wrote whether, it's wearing the cape or jumping off furniture. And that was just last night. That wasn't even 32 years ago. That was just, a couple of days ago.
The voices told you to do it.
The voices told me to do it, and here we are. No, I had the pajamas. Actually, I have one set that survived of my original toddler pajamas.
Oh, wow.
Framed here in a shadow box on my wall.
That's super cool.
No pun intended. So it's it's here with a lot of my Superman artwork in my office at home. Yeah, I had all the toys. I had all I watched the old cartoons, the Ruby Spears and everything. It was always there. It's not like I was a certain age and I remember picking up a Superman comic and going, "What's this?"
Right.
It was one of those things that was. And it's weird because, like, with Star Wars, I remember the first time I watched Star Wars.
Same.
Like, I was young, but I remember being introduced to Star Wars, and it's almost like Superman was introduced to me. Like, I don't ever feel like I was introduced to Superman. Like, I feel like it was Superman coming into my life and not me coming into Superman's life, or vice versa.
Right,
like,
right.
I don't know how to explain that. It was just always this. You get up, you go to school. There's constants in life. There's taxes. There's death and Superman. To me, that's it. And I guess that's. I'm gonna take a swig here. I guess that's it. I think that. I think that was it for me.
That's it.
I don't remember it any other way.
Yeah, I feel I'm exactly in the same boat. I mean, my earliest memory. And actually, you saying that your earliest memory of Superman triggers this for me, because I when people ask you what's their earliest memory, I always say, oh, my sister being born. I was 3, and I was really little, and it's the very first thing that I remember. And I don't have many memory. It's a couple of years before my next memory after that. But that was a big event. But really, when I stop and think about it, my first memory was the day my sister was born. My dad giving me a VHS of the Fleischer cartoons. Nice. Because he was like, "Here, we still love you, just because there's another kid in the house now. Here,
pat you on the head. Here you go, son. Go put that in the VCR."
It was the consolation prize. Was like,
that'll take care of you for an hour or two while we tend to the child.
Yeah, it was like, we're gonna go meet your sister at the hospital today, but we love you. So here's like some toy trucks and a Superman tape. You're welcome.
So they left you home alone with the Superman VHS.
That's it. And I was the last kid from there on. No, but that actually is like, I remember getting that tape and watching it, and then later that day going to meet my sister at the hospital. So
do you still have that tape?
Yes, I do. I do.
That's important.
Yes,
that's important.
Good. Yes, I absolutely do. I still have that, and I have a couple of other copies with other VHSs that have other assorted. You know how like you'd go to the grocery store in like the early 90s, and there'd be a bin of like $1 VHS tapes.
Yeah.
And I'd see it and be like, "Ooh, this looks like a new one," and it was like, "Oh no, it's just the Mechanical Monsters again." I mean, not that I'm upset about it, but just different cover on the same tape.
like I said, I remember more than anything. I remember that shield. I remember the sigil.
Okay.
Just whether it was my pajamas or whatever. And I for some reason, watched Superman 3 and 4 way more than I did 1 and 2 growing up. But really, like getting oldest memory, like vivid memories of actually coming home and doing something and putting stuff on is the Sal Kine's The Adventures of Superboy series that came on Fox after school. That's like one of my most. This is Superman. He's a strange visitor from another planet. Like all that. Because I watched George Reeves. I watched the 50s on Nick at Night.
That was my big one. George Reeves and the Fleischers were like my big my obsessions.
Were huge to me. But for some reason, and it was probably, honestly, like if it had aired at a different time, it wouldn't mean as much to me now later in life. But like coming home and that being on as I got home. So, like, that was a daily routine watching the 4 seasons of that series.
Because you must have been really young when that was on, because that was late 80s, early 90s, right? So you had to be a pretty little kid when that was in its first run.
I'm trying to think. It may have been...
maybe it was reruns?
Syndication.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think when that started. I was thinking it was 89.
That sounds about right. I for some reason, 87 is sticking in my head, but 89, I mean, give or take a couple of years. Using your one lookup. I never asked you what beer you're drinking.
Is this my one lookup for the show?
Yeah, we have a rule. We have a one lookup rule. You can only Google one thing.
Well, I used it up. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, 88.
88.
So,
all right. Somewhere in the middle.
I'm not sure that it was first season. Obviously, the thing ran for 4 years.
4 years. Yeah.
I actually have all the DVDs now autographed by Christopher Gerard and John Haymes Newton.
That's fun.
So. I'm drinking a local beer, Lazy Magnolia. It is brewed here in Mississippi, where I am talking to you via solo cup with a string attached.
Right, as we do.
It's their Lazy Magnolia is the brand. It is their Jefferson Stout, which is actually a sweet potato cream stout.
Ooh, and
it is quite excellent.
That is a super interesting sweet potato stout.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's got a little roasted coffee and almost some caramel to it, like a hint. But yeah, sweet potato.
I'm gonna need to see if I can get my hands on that somehow. That sounds amazing.
Can I ship you stuff? I'm sure I could get you shipped beer.
I'm sure you can. I mean,
you know what?
We'll meet up in a couple months in Atlanta.
Well, this is true. I'll pull a Smokey and the Bandit and load some in the back, and we'll go across state lines.
There you go. I like that. I like the sound of that. Wow.
Because it is Atlanta. Holy crap.
Exactly. My God, it works out.
We're doing the plot of Smokey and the Bandit. Hold on. This trip just got way more interesting. Things just elevated.
Just went to a whole new level.
Yeah, whole new level. Wow. Okay, yeah. We're doing Smokey and the Bandit.
All right. Nice.
One, damn. Not 3.
Yeah,
we're doing 1.
OG, okay. We're going original.
Yeah. That's definitely fine. Not 2. I'm not bringing an elephant.
No. We have, no time for that. No time for that.
So yeah, Adventures of Superboy. I digress.
Adventures of Superboy
is a thing, and for people aren't really familiar with that show because it was not really a good show.
It was fine,
but it was Clark in community college,
right?
In Florida of all places.
It was so
at Schuster University.
Schuster, right.
With Lana and Perry White's son, and so it was not. And Lex Luthor was there, and it's not. But it introduced me to. It was my first introduction to Bizarro. It was my first introduction to Mxyzptlk. It was my first. Who else is on that show? Probably Jor-El, because there were a couple of episodes with Jor-El and Laura. So that was probably some of my first introduction to that, and which is funny now because 30 years later, Krypton is such a huge, not just the TV series, but that part of the lore and mythos is so important to me. The Kryptonian heritage and the House of El and all that stuff is one of my favorite aspects of Superman. So a lot of it was born out of that show, as cheesy as it was. I mean, when it makes Batman 66 have good plots,
right.
It was some pretty cheesy
sure
acting and effects.
And it's a product of its time.
It is a product of its time. That is a huge thing to remember. There's a reason it did not come on in prime time.
Exactly.
It was not on between Golden Girls and Alf. I mean, it was very much a after school. This is for the kids thing, and it was trial by fire basically because the Salkinds didn't get to do Superman 5, so they did this show instead.
We'll do it on TV
to hang on to the rights. We'll do it live.
We'll go Back to the Future, go to Young Superman, and do it on TV. Yeah. That show never really caught on with me, but I totally see why it would for you because, I think in the same way that for a lot of people, many people, majority of people maybe today, the George Reeves stuff just doesn't hold up. But for me, like, okay, it may not hold up, but it is. I have an emotional attachment to it, and I always will. I'll always have a special place in my heart for George Reeves and for Noel Neill. I'll always love
Phyllis
them.
Coates.
And Phyllis Coates. Season 1 was actually really good. Like, in a cinematic sense, it was like a really good, beautifully shot and good storytelling and like very noir style.
We don't discuss noir.
And she was great.
Yeah. And the Mole Men. You got to love the Mole Men, too.
Where it all started, right?
That, yeah. And honestly, I don't talk about this a lot because it sounds kind of dumb. But when I was a kid, we went on vacation. I guess we went to the beach. We went to, like, Gulf Shores or something. And I remember stopping in a convenience store. And I had to have been 5, maybe 6. But I have this memory of stopping in a convenience store and wanting something. You're a kid. I want something. Can I get something?
Yeah.
Can I get
candy,
something?
Whatever.
Yeah. So they had a rack of cassette tapes, and they had the old radio shows.
Oh, Bud Collyer.
2 different ones. Yeah. They had 2 different cassette tapes of the old radio shows. And in some ways, I feel like, because I go back to that so much, I feel like a lot of what this is, like me in front of a microphone and me talking about this, and even as a reporter and doing storytelling like Barry the Lead, was born out of those 2 cassette tapes, which I still have. Listening to that style of, because I didn't grow up with that. I didn't grow up with the Lone Ranger and Zorro and that kind of stuff. So I didn't hear any of that. That was the first time I ever heard anything like that.
Sure.
Were those radio dramatizations. So I feel like a lot of what I do now was kind of born out of those 2 cassette tapes.
That's awesome, dude. That's really freaking cool.
It's random to think about. When I say it out loud, people are like, yeah, right. But honestly, to me, cassette tapes were music. So to hear something like that on a cassette tape was like, whoa, this is really cool. So yeah, a lot of what I feel like I do now is owed to that because of the storytelling devices they used and being able to. Because that was just a neat thing. We didn't grow up with Little Orphan Annie and stuff like that. You and I, we were older. We had TV. We didn't have to listen to radio in the 40s.
We had pictures to go with it.
That was a whole new thing to me when I put those in. And I was like, oh, this is. Hey, Mom, this is what you used to do. And Mom's like, shut up. I was born in 57.
We had TV too.
Yeah. Go to your room.
Oh man. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I also loved that the Bud Collyer, radio drama, but that I came to it much later. I knew about it, but in college I found archive.org, the Internet Archive.
Yeah.
Someone uploaded every existing episode of that show, and that show ran for 10 years.
It's amazing.
And there's some lost episodes that are just lost to time. But like something like 1,500 episodes exist because it was daily, and it went. Sometimes it was 5 days a week, 3 days a week, and then I think eventually it went down to 1 day a week. But it was thousands and thousands of episodes, and they're all available. And I still have them on a hard drive, and I've listened to about half of them.
Yeah,
I used to when I didn't have podcasts queued up, I would put those on and work my way through them. So I have a special attachment to those as well. I mean, that's where you got Jimmy Olsen. That's where you got Kryptonite. A lot of things started.
Yeah, Kryptonite was created for the radio show because they had to have something to weaken him.
Yeah, so his I've heard different reports. Like sometimes it's they just needed to have weakness. I've also heard that they wanted to give Bud Collier an excuse to take a vacation, and so the reason his voice would sound different is, "Oh, I'm weak," and they'd have a different actor do it.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
But because he was the one person who like they couldn't really replace, and he came up with the whole idea of there being sort of two different voices for Superman, and you know, that change of this is a job for Superman, like that was his thing that he brought to the character.
Yeah. And it's amazing how that, you know, and Steve Glosson talks about this a lot, and it's one of my favorite aspects too, but it's something that always hooks him, is that moment in, you know, they didn't need special effects for Christopher Reeve. Like, they didn't have to do so much because Christopher took the glasses off,
right,
and like didn't hunch over and kind of stood up a little bit more. Like, it was instant. Like that was acting. Like, and to me, that's awesome. You know, that they didn't need he didn't even need the suit to become Superman. He just kind of stood a little bit taller, and his facial expression changed, and he became Superman. And, you know, I mean, everybody says, I get tired of well, this is my Superman. Well, this is my Lois Lane. I don't buy into that, you know. And I'm not saying people are wrong for doing that, because obviously people have special memories and grow up to that. I'm just saying it seems like everybody does that, and to me, they're all my Superman. Like, I love Brandon Routh. Superman. You and I are huge Superman Returns nerds. Like, I absolutely love Brandon's portrayal. I love Tom Welling. I love Henry. I think Henry does some great things with the role that we haven't seen before. And you know, the stories he's gotten to portray them in aren't the absolute best. I like Man of Steel a lot. Batman versus Superman has some issues for me personally, but I don't dislike it. And but you know, Amy Adams is honestly one of the best portrayals on screen we've had of Lois Lane.
She's great. She's fantastic.
She was born to play that role, in all honesty. So
I hope she gets to keep playing that role
I do too,
for a while. I agree with you about Henry Cavill. For the record, I've never had a problem with his portrayal ever. And in fact, one of the reasons why I kind of enjoyed Justice League was because he got to be Superman, the Superman that I recognize more than he had up to that point. So I enjoyed, you know, at least that aspect of Justice League and of his performance. And I hope he gets to now kind of play this version of Superman that we've all, you know, been waiting for. But I think we probably need to wrap it up there. We got some where you and I
you
are.
Didn't tell me what you're drinking.
I'm drinking. You're right. You know, Tim goes away and everything just falls apart.
That's
the whole. We just get.
I have that effect on.
We just get wrapped up talking about Superman, and that's what happens. So I've been sipping on a Kennebunkport Brewing Company IPA, a local, a Maine beer, so not super local to me, but here in New England. And it's fantastic. It's hoppy and malty, and it's a good combination of both, and I enjoy it quite a bit.
Just like me, hoppy and malty.
That's how I always describe you, Derek.
Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people when they die, you know, we're going to tie it all back into the beginning. A lot of people when they die, because you were telling me this was going to be my eulogy,
right?
Have certain things that, you know, loving husband, father, all that kind of stuff. Mine's just going to say hoppy and malty,
and everything schmaltzy.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's a good place to leave it. Do you want to tell people where we can find you on the internet?
Please don't. Leave me alone. No, the voices in my head are taking up enough space. At WD Russell on Twitter and Instagram. I host Start with Houseful Krypton with Frank.
That's me.
Yeah. KryptonPodcast.net. SmallvillePodcast.com is obviously the Start with Houseful Smallville version.
One that started it all.
Original Coke. Classic. Coke Classic formula. Krypton Podcast is New Coke. Round 3 with Bag, with Brian Austin Green, with bagpod.com. What else do I do? Burythelead.com.
You buried the lead. You literally buried the lead.
I did. I literally buried the lead. Ha. So got some new interviews coming up there with Ed Asner, who played Lou Grant on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and Megan Fox. Coming soon to that show. So
exciting stuff.
Working on it, trying to make something out of it.
It's Bury the Lead is one of my favorite new podcasts. And I'm not just blowing smoke. It's one of my favorite new podcasts I've listened to in a while because it's so different than anything else that I've listened to. I really like what you do there, and I would encourage people to really check that out. And all your shows are super fun, but that's one of the more unique podcasts that I've ever listened to. So
well, in all honesty, that show came from those Superman serials. So
well, there you go.
As weird as that sounds to say, that's where that storytelling device came from. So.
Yeah, and that's why you're a mild-mannered reporter.
Well, yeah, kind of landed on me there.
Yeah, it's kind of what happened. Well, you can find us at beerwithgeeks.com, thoughtbubbleaudio.com for this and all the other Thought Bubble Audio shows, at Beer with Geeks on Twitter, beerwithgeeks@gmail.com. If you want to throw us a line, Facebook, of course, Beer with Geeks. And patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio. It's another way to support us if you'd like to do that. But above all, tell your friends, listen to the show, and leave us iTunes reviews. Those are really the best ways to support us and get the word out. But Derek, thanks a lot for joining me and talking Superman today. Happy 80th anniversary. Action Comics 1000 dropped this week. Here's to 80 more years and 1,000 more issues of The Man of Steel.
Hope we're around to see it.
I hope so too. But until then, cheers.